Welcome to Littleton Common. I'm Bob Spinozzi.
And I'm Barbara McRae. It has been a year since we have been trying to avoid COVID-19, and meantime, a new strain has been added. Who would have thought that at this time, a year later, we would still be wearing masks and avoiding humans? Our patients has been tested, and with many, it is frayed. The Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging wanted to give our seniors some cheer and change from the worries of the day by hosting lunches to go. We did that in November and December. But please join us in March for our St. Patrick's style lunch to go. It'll be catered by Il Forno's restaurant. And it's starting on March 1st. You have to call the COA office at 978-540-2470 for reservations. And I don't have all the information today, but it will follow and you will hear all about what to do. This month, the Friends are delivering flower arrangements to our Littleton seniors. Something to brighten the day and know we care. Sharon Corbin designed and is delivering the beautiful flower arrangements. We don't want to forget anyone, but delivery may be slow because we are doing a few at a time each week. Bob and I try to give health information to our viewers now and then. This month, we have some information about your health and some for your pets. Today, my interview is with Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, Dawn Brooks, and Dawn is the Chief of Staff at Littleton Hospital, Littleton Animal Hospital, and has a lot of information to keep our pets safe in winter. Stay with us for that. And my second guest, who is Fred Levy, pet photographer. So Bob, staying healthy is a big deal in the winter, and this one has been very strange. Warm, cold, and then not so cold.
You're right, Barbara. And you know, we're all mindful to protect ourselves from COVID-19, and it's still winter, so we have to keep other health practices intact to protect ourselves. Early last winter, I sat down with certified family nurse practitioner Karen Hoang of Westford Internal Medicine, and she gave us some tips for winter health protection. Karen, thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure, Bob.
So here we are, wintertime, shorter days, colder weather. So what are some of the ways that we can keep healthy during this time of year?
Keeping healthy during this time of the year includes getting lots of rest, making sure you're well hydrated, having a healthy diet, and really getting a lot of exercise. We kind of think about exercise more in the summertime, but it's also important in the winter.
And I know this time of year, for myself at least, my skin gets really dry, so I have to use a lot of moisturizer.
Using a nice hydrating lotion so that we're protecting our skin barrier to protect from any type of breakdown is important.
Okay. You know, this time of year, we just, we lack our attention to diet and exercise, and it's just important to keep reminding ourselves that we're just not going to feel as active this time of year or be as active.
Yes, that's very true. Especially with the holidays coming around, we might overeat more than we should, and that can really affect our health in many different ways as far as blood pressure or our blood sugars. So it is really important to be cognizant of diet and exercise.
And with the exercise, you can take a simple step, no pun intended. For instance, coming here at Westford Internal Medicine today, we took the stairs instead of the elevator. Some people might join a health club for the winter time. And I know that Emerson has this fantastic Steinberg Wellness Center in Concord on Baker Avenue. And they have many, many programs that are really great for mental health as well as physically for you.
And that's really important too, especially because of the lack of sun, and seasonal affective disorder can play a huge role in that. So getting the endorphins up and having mental stability, I think, is very important for health.
And you're referring to that seasonal depression, what they call it, SAD?
Yes, SAD.
Yeah. So also this time of year is the time of the year where you're going to maybe get the flu. I've already gotten my flu shot, and I think most of you have as well. But what are some of the other things that we can do to protect ourselves from getting the flu or a cold?
Again, hand washing is really important, and making sure you're coughing into your sleeve or into a tissue versus your hand, where you're touching multiple objects and surfaces where you could pick up these potential viruses, would be important too. Getting enough sleep and, again, maintaining hydration, I think, is really important.
Karen, I know that the flu shot is not a cure-all. It helps a lot from what I understand. But last year, the flu shot was not very effective, as I recall. Is that true? And are you getting any early indication on this year's flu shot?
Well, I think it's a little early to say this year, but last year, yes, you're right, it was not as effective. But I also saw studies saying that there was a decrease in the amount of adults that were being vaccinated, and I think that really affects herd immunity in the community.
Here we are, Westford Internal Medicine, and you're going to be treating winter and snow-related injuries this time of year.
Yes.
So tell us about some of those.
Shoveling can really exacerbate any type of injury that may already be there. Being, again, cognizant of making sure that you're actually physically fit enough is going to be really important before we start pulling all the shovels out.
And maybe wearing the right foot gear because you're really susceptible to slipping. Do you get many concussions or sprained ankles and broken bones?
I get a lot of slips. I do get a lot of slips. Black ice is a huge problem around this area, especially how cold it gets. And so making sure you're salting the driveways before heading out is going to be important.
Okay. So Karen, with concussions now, what are some of the warning signs that we should be looking for?
Some of the red flag signs that I like to call them about concussions would be severe headache, signs of stroke, maybe intractable nausea and vomiting would be one concern that you should really seek medical attention for.
So Karen, what are some of the favorite items to have available during the winter?
I think those little hand sanitizers that you can kind of carry along with you is great. I have them in every single purse. So I think that's really important too, because you never know whether or not you'll have access to a sink or to soap, so hand sanitizer is important. I think carrying a spare flashlight in the car would be a good idea, especially with it getting so dark out lately and, you know, scrambling to get the keys out of your purse. You might want to just watch out for the black ice. Having an extra water bottle at hand would be effective too, and also carrying tissues around wherever you go.
And the hand sanitizer that we mentioned before, of course, but yeah. Okay, well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. I know you have to get back to work.
Thank you, it was nice
and it's been great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Westford Internal Medicine is in the Emerson Health Center at 133 Littleton Road in Westford. Now, if you have any questions about when the vaccine will be given to residents in Littleton, please visit littletonmass.org.
This COVID virus is lurking in Littleton, so we have to wear masks and not join large crowds if we don't want to spread the virus. And you know, Zoom is ever popular now because of COVID, and Elder and Human Services is taking advantage of it by presenting many programs that way. One is the very popular Loving Stitches, and that's on Mondays at noon. And this seems interesting, musical Valentine's Bingo, February 12th at 2:30 to 3:30. And this is a sing-along while playing bingo. Sounds like fun. The Pride and the Prejudice of Fashion, clothing styles of Jane Austen's era on Tuesday, February 23rd at 2:30. And get and give your favorite cookie recipe on Zoom on Thursday, February 25th at 11 a.m. to noon. But call the EHS department at 978-540-2470 to get the Zoom meeting invitation for these programs. But also call that number to sign up for the craft and the mystery bag programs. Grab and Go Craft class is on Wednesday, February 10th at 1 p.m. They will be doing tissue paper sun catchers in an embroidery hoop. So get your supplies and instructions in front of the library main door. The mystery bag program will be from 11 a.m. to noon on February 16th. These also can be picked up in front of the library. The bags are going to be filled with puzzles, word games, and much more.
Bill Vales has a full slate of virtual internet classes lined up each Thursday in February, and these classes will be via Zoom. So February's classes look like this. February 4th, the topic is the cloud. What is it and how is it used safely? On the 11th, Bill will talk date backup strategies. And then on the 18th, the subject will be sharing info on the web using file storage services like Dropbox and Google Drive. February classes conclude on the 24th when Bill will discuss ransomware. What is it and how do you protect yourselves from it? Now to sign up for these classes, call the COA at 978-540-2470 and leave your name and email address. Before the meeting, you'll receive an email with the Zoom link that you'll use to attend the meeting.
Bob, isn't this the truth? Lockdown has turned us all into dogs. We roam the house all day searching for food. We are told no if we get too close to strangers, and we get very excited about car rides. So today, my guest will give us some advice on keeping our dogs and cats ready for winter. Let me introduce you to Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, Dawn Brooks, Chief of Staff at Animal Littleton Hospital. So, welcome, Dawn. Billy Bob and I have a few questions for you. Well, at least I'm going to, but he also is interested in knowing some of the answers, I'm sure. Now, oftentimes people leave their pets outside during the winter weather. And you know, I'm not sure that it's okay all the time. You know that wild animals stay outside all winter, but they also find a warm place to stay. Right. So I'd like to know a little more information about that, keeping, you know, them warm.
The other thing you need to keep in mind is that wild animals are adapted to the out of doors. A pet animal is adapted more to indoors, climate controlled, air controlled. They're not used to spending all that time outside. So typically when the weather is above freezing, most dogs can tolerate being outside for a longer period of time. If they're outside for a walk, exercise, that's going to build up their body temperature and they're going to be able to stay outside longer. We have a lot of people who like to take their dogs for walks, long walks every day, but moving does create some energy heat. Being let out into a backyard where they may not be expending energy, it may be harder for them to maintain their body heat. So we usually worry a little bit more when the temperature goes below freezing. If it's rainy weather and their coat is getting wet, of course that's going to be more uncomfortable, so shorter periods of time. But when we get more into the teens, single digits, I don't like dogs to be out more than what they need to be in order to do their business. So if you have a backyard and let your dog run around and play outside, maybe 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes if they're moving. Once you get below freezing, you're pretty much bringing them outside to do what they got to do and come right back in.
Right, right. Well, you know, we didn't get Billy Bob a coat or a sweater for the winter, and his fur right now is short. So he does take walks 3 times a day with Alan. They're usually gone about half an hour. And I wondered if, you know, should all pets have sweaters or he can do it without?
That's a great question. Dogs that have a longer hair coat are going to be able to trap warm air in between those strands of hair, the fur, and insulate themselves a little bit. So longer hair dogs with a bigger body mass, larger breed dogs, may not really need a sweater. Smaller dogs, especially those dogs that have hair that grows, that then you cut back and the groomer will bring it pretty close to the skin, they don't have the ability to insulate themselves as much. And so a lot of times people feel for longer walks, they may enjoy a sweater. I have 2 little dogs not much bigger than Billy Bob, and they have that hair coat that needs to get trimmed every so often. The majority of the time, if I'm letting them run outside to go to the bathroom and they want to come right back in, I don't bother. But if they're going to go for a walk, they just had a groom, we do have little fleecy shirts that they get put on them just to help them out in the colder weather.
Yeah, and I understand that you should protect their feet because of the salt on the roads and keep them from chewing on their pads because they could get infected?
Yeah, so the biggest concern we have with road salt is it's very irritating to their feet and their paws. If you want to take them out for a walk and you're going on roadways, sidewalks that have been treated, you might consider booties. Most pet stores will sell booties that have little Velcro closures so that you can easy on, easy off. They also sell these little rubber ones that look like balloons that you can just kind of stretch over their foot and stretch off, but it's more like walking on their pad versus a booty. Some dogs absolutely don't know what to do with them, right? So typically it takes a while for them to get used to. Another alternative is if you find yourself in a place where they have been walking on rock salt and you hadn't planned for it, just rinse their feet when you get home, wipe them off with a wet paper towel. And just like you wouldn't want to go to the ocean and drink salt water because it can cause dehydration and vomiting, you wouldn't want them to eat all that rock salt off their feet because it also can induce vomiting.
We keep a towel by the door.
Yeah.
Because just in case, if it's raining, he used to not want to go out there if it was raining. Right. But if it is raining, we wipe him off when he comes in, his paws and his back and stomach.
Sure.
And the same with the snow. Is that a good idea?
I think once they're inside, they tend to dry up very quickly. I worry less about them being wet in an indoor temperature-controlled environment. However, I do like to wipe my dogs off too because then they make little footprints all over the floor.
Yeah.
So there is a benefit to doing that.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you have anything that you wanted to bring up?
Sure. So I think one of the things I do worry a lot about in the wintertime is this is just lack of exercise. We see a lot of dogs gain weight in the winter. We're not outside as much. No one wants to be out at 6 a.m. in the morning when the sun isn't up. When it's super cold or wet, we don't enjoy being outside. So a lot of people walk their dogs less, or their dogs spend less time outside. And so we can see dogs gain weight in the wintertime, and then over the summer months, when they're more active, they may lose that weight. What I tell my clients is that at some point in our lifetime, our metabolism starts to slow down. Depending on the dog, depending on the personality or the breed, that slowing down can happen at 5 years of age or 8 years of age or even later. But when that metabolism slows, we don't see them lose the winter weight in the summer. And so we worry a lot about them gaining a few pounds every winter and their weight then creeps up. So keeping dogs more active, trying to make sure you maintain their exercise schedule, and if you're not able to do so, sometimes cutting a little back on the food or the treats can help prevent that weight gain.
That's what I was going to ask about was food. And if anyone needs to change the type of food in the winter or summer,
Sure.
or you're talking about the amount.
I don't typically ask them to change the food, but maybe sometimes if you have a scoop and you're doing a rounded scoop, maybe level that off in the wintertime because you don't need those extra calories. Sometimes we're stuck home more. Pre-COVID, you're stuck home more in the wintertime because it's cold outside and you're not working in the yard and you're not doing other things. You are more inclined to treat your dog or give cookies because you are home with them more, and all of those calories add up. So if I have a dog that's really prone to winter weight gain, I'll tell clients cut back the food 25% in the wintertime, just a little bit, and then in the spring, summer, when they're out and doing more activity, go back up to their normal level.
Oh, okay. Another thing, what about their teeth? Because I doubt that Billy would let us brush his teeth, but It is important. We had a dog that had problems.
Yes. Dental health is probably up there in terms of when I'm talking to clients at annual wellness visits, my top 2 topics are how much your dog weighs and is that a healthy weight, and what's happening with your dog's teeth. Because dogs don't get regular dental cleanings like people do, they can end up with progressive buildup of bacteria around their teeth and gums. Yeah. And a lot of people can relate to seeing brown on their dog's teeth. If you never went to your dentist, your teeth would eventually look like your dog's. Many people, when you go to the hygienist and you can feel them picking at the teeth and they're scraping something that keeps catching the tool, they're removing that tartar buildup that's building up in between the crevices of your teeth. Dogs never brush their teeth and they don't get regular cleaning, so that builds up and it's visible. If we don't remove it, it will create gingivitis and it eventually will create periodontal disease that may end up causing them to lose teeth. Smaller breed dogs are at a higher risk of dental problems. They're genetically predisposed to periodontal disease. So my three-year-old, I still call them puppies, the 3-year-old dogs have already lost a number of their incisor teeth. And I'm not entirely sure why small dogs will get periodontal disease around those teeth more often. I definitely don't see it in larger breed dogs, so is it genetic? Is it because they don't bite and tear at things like bigger dogs might and they're not using them as much? I don't know, but it's a super common problem. So for smaller breed dogs like Billy Bob, I do recommend cleaning their teeth every year or every other year. Larger breed dogs, maybe not until they're older, when we actually see there's a problem.
But how do we do that? Do we take the dog into a hospital?
Yeah, when you go in for your regular wellness visit, your veterinarian should be talking to you about these things. If they're not mentioning your dog's dental health, ask, how did his teeth look? Do they need to be cleaned? A veterinarian that's really cognizant of the progressive or potential risks of progressive dental disease will talk to you about a cleaning earlier before we start to see changes to the gum structure. And some dogs, that's not early enough. They really should have them more often. However, with dogs, they do have to be under anesthesia. They don't say ah and sit still quite like we do. And so we have to use anesthetic agents in order to be able to do a good job. And again, we don't want the dog to worry about what's going on in their mouth. That's scary. I get scared when I go to the dentist and they're finding an owie spot. So for a dog who doesn't understand, it's easier. We can do a better job. But that does increase costs. So along with that, I also talk to people about pet insurance. Some pet insurance companies will provide dental care options as part of the plan. Pet insurance is probably the most underutilized tool we have in veterinary medicine. It's always something we think of when the dog has a big problem and we have a big bill, but you really want to start it while the dog is very young, before they develop dental problems, before they develop skin problems, before things happen. Because anything that we diagnose in a dog, before you get insurance becomes pre-existing. Just like our insurance companies, they won't cover those problems. So getting pet insurance while your pet is young, making sure you look at policies that maybe cover only accident and illness versus those that also cover wellness things like dentals is a good idea.
Yeah. Now, just to get on the side here, does this pertain, or any of this pertain to cats too?
100%. Probably one of the best kept secrets in the veterinary industry is that the majority of cats in the world never see a veterinarian. They're so very good at hiding signs of illnesses or problems. I'll have a cat come in for a regular wellness visit and they have cavities. Cats will get cavity-like lesions. They're not the same process that happens in our mouth, but they're very specific to the cat and those teeth hurt. And I have had people come in with their cat. I've told them they have painful teeth. They have agreed to let me take those teeth out. And usually a week later when I call to see how their cat is doing, I get the, wow, they're running around the house and playing again. They are more affectionate. I see them acting better. But yet they never recognized the cat was acting sick or in pain. So a lot of times we don't notice the problems in cats, which is a good reason why cats should get regular wellness visits, just like dogs.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. My daughter has 2 cats, and she does take them to the veterinarian. But I was curious on, do you do that with cats? They look so, like we talk about, they look independent, and they are. So you forget that they might.
They are so independent. So my cat in my house, she comes when she wants attention. She begs for food when her bowl is empty. But there are a lot of times during the day where she's sleeping during the day and I don't get to interact with her as much. So I think sometimes cats do kind of blend into the household. And sometimes we're surprised how much time passes before you realize. I keep saying my cat is 7. But I'm pretty sure she's now 9.
Well, let's see. I wonder what else I have here that's, I've got just about everything I asked for. But are there more illnesses in the winter with animals?
I don't know that we see more illnesses in the winter per se. I definitely feel like we see more injuries, more exercise-induced trauma type of things in the summer months because we're outside more. So I think the other thing to keep in mind is just to keep your dog safe, make sure they get their regular wellness visits, make sure we're vaccinating. Diseases like Lyme disease, leptospirosis. Those are things where not all veterinarians are vaccinating for them. And so when you're out and about in the world, those are things your dogs are getting exposed to. Making sure your dog is on a leash, not running off into the woods. I've had dogs come back with impalements where they've gotten stuck on a dead piece of branch. I've also had a dog must have found a dead deer carcass in the wood and ate a hoof and ended up needing surgery. So there are a lot of little things that can happen that can be unexpected. So regular care, being safe, following the leash laws, all good reasons, good things to consider when you're out of doors with your dog.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I really appreciate everything that you gave us today.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's more, and if people have questions,
Yeah.
they can always look for you on the website?
Yes, we can go to littletonanimalhospital.com and see our website. There's a client care address there, an email address where you can email us questions. If you have specific concerns about your animal's health, it's always going to be better if we schedule an appointment so that we can see the problem, review previous records, and have time to talk.
Great. So Billy, Bob, and I are going to say to everybody out there, take care of your pets because they are such good friends. Our Nancy Hilsinger has Rosie, and Rosie and Bill are mascots here at the studio. You know, I like to take pictures of Billy Bob every day, but did you know we have Fred Levy, who is a pet photographer, and he is right here in town. Pets are our subject today, and Fred Levy is our pet photographer, and he's right here in town, and he's also right here with me today. So hi, Fred. So tell me, you know, I'm always taking pictures of my dog, Billy Bob, and lately he's gotten so that when he sees the camera coming, he turns his head. He really does. It's hysterical. It's like, not again, please. But anyway, I just wondered, you know, first of all, let's start with when you started this and why.
I started taking pet photos when we adopted our first dog, Toby. So 12-something years ago. My background's photography. It's always been photography from a fine arts perspective. But when I got our dog and when I started going out and taking pictures, I'd go to the dog park and then nothing else to do. I bring my camera and I take lots of pictures, and I met some really great people. And then I found out there's this thing called pet photography. Like it's a thing, like it's a niche. And I'm like, wow, if there's anything in the world that I could think I could do forever, that would be it. So I started focusing on just photographing pets.
Oh, so I was imagining that when you were a little kid, you decided it was fun watching pets and taking pictures, but this is a good reason right there.
Photography was the first love, and then dogs and pets became the second, and just working with animals.
Well, okay, so this is why we decided to photograph pets, and I was wondering about that. What is the most unusual pet you've ever photographed?
I did get to photograph a chicken with a hamster together, and that was interesting. So it was fine until the chicken tried to peck the eyes out of the hamster. So, but you know, it was for the holidays. You got to show love where you see it. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. Mostly what I do is dogs. I photographed horses. I photographed cats. One pig, which was adorable because he got dressed up by these two little girls every day. So, but pigs are not. Pigs are a pet that you get because you really want to have a pet pig. They are very willful creatures, too smart for most people.
You know, and no matter what kind of pet we have, that's the one we love, and we want to see the picture up there of that
True.
pet, turtle or snake sometimes.
Sometimes.
So, do you have a favorite type?
Of pet or?
Pet.
Well, I'm definitely partial to dogs.
Yeah.
I have two dogs now, Iggy and Jack, and they, you know, they're great. But you know, Toby was our first dog that really got us into photography. So, yeah, so I like working with dogs. I love photographing horses though when I get a chance to, They're amazing. They're like giant dogs. If you don't spend any time with horses, you don't really know much about them. So the first time I got to really interact with horses, they were like giant dogs. Do you have a treat? What are you doing? Are we going to play? Those are the kind of things that they want to know.
Well, does it take long to photograph a pet, or do you use snacks or?
Treats are pretty much required for most dogs. Every dog's different, but if you really want their attention, you need to find what they love. So some dogs love treats. A lot of dogs are easy to manipulate with treats. Others like their toy, or they have a favorite toy. I did a photo session with a client where we did this big walk around this lake, and their dog loves the stick. So almost every picture was with the stick. So I had to be creative to try to take the stick away to get a good picture of the dog without the stick. So there's always a catch, right? So there's something to get them to look. But yeah, I've only had a few dogs that have really not enjoyed the process. But I try to make it so the dogs are having fun. So.
Well, what kind of timing do you need? Like, okay, I need your pet for me for an hour because it'll take that long to pose, or 10 minutes, or just it depend on the pet?
I try to do sessions based off of, not on time, but on when we feel like we've got enough photos. So, because dogs have a hard time telling time, so it's really hard to tell them, hey, we've only got 15 minutes left. You really got to show me your A game now. Dogs don't do that. So you have to work without a time schedule. So I don't do back-to-back. If I do mini sessions, I've done that at pet stores or for fundraiser events or things like that. But I try not to do them because you never quite know what you're getting. And I really want to make sure I'm creating the best work possible. So when I do my sessions, I don't put a time limit. I treat it like a baseball game. There's 9 innings and then there's done, but there's no actual clock. So
it's probably a lot like photographing children. You hope that they're not going to cry or something, and dogs, you're hoping that he's not going to, want to go over in the corner there and just look around or something.
Right.
But
it helps to have the opportunity to stop and pause and reflect. Same thing when you're photographing kids. They don't really care about time. But if they're getting so frustrated with the shooting process, play a game. Spend some time. Same with dogs. You want to play a game, spend some time, let them relax. The hardest part is often that the client is there and they're like, oh, they're not going to be good, and then they get nervous. And if the client's getting nervous, then the dog sees that their owner's getting nervous, so they're like, I should be nervous too. So you got to okay, everyone's got to be relaxed. If everybody stays relaxed, the dog will stay relaxed, and we'll get much nicer photographs.
And you need the person there? I mean, couldn't they leave the room or something?
Oh no. They have to be and
okay.
The dog would be very upset if they if their owner just took off. So
Yeah.
And I need them there to sort of be the handler, to help guide the dog, because the dog's going to look at them first more than me. I'm hiding behind this giant eyeball of a lens, so they want to make sure that they're comfortable, and I want to make sure the dog is comfortable. So, because if the dog's not comfortable, we're getting no good pictures.
Do you get many people who want to be photographed with their dog?
Oh yeah, not always. Some people are just I only want pictures of my dog. I don't care about me, and it's all about the dog. But I've had others who are I really want to capture this moment in time, and I want to make sure that this is me with my dogs at this point in my life. So, it's very important, because the Achilles heel of dog ownership or any pet ownership, for most, unless it's like a turtle that lives longer than you, is that we're gonna outlive them. So we are their whole lives, but they are only part of ours. So the joy of this photography work is that I get to be able to say, you have this moment and it's captured in time.
Yeah. Well, are you a dog whisperer? Do you have to?
I've definitely gotten better. I wouldn't say that I'm really a dog whisperer so much, but as of someone who's I've just gotten really good at knowing the tells and being able to understand, what a dog is thinking about and how to kind of encourage them to do something. I'm never trying to force a dog to do anything. I'll definitely move a butt around here and there, but I won't try to, force them to do something that they don't want to do, because then they're just going to fight against it. So I have to turn it into something that they want to do, And if there's a reward, dogs love rewards.
With that, though, can you tell when a pet comes through the door that this is going to be easy, or I really need a lot of patience today?
I can tell more of that from the owner than from the dog.
Oh.
So if the owner is like I said earlier, is nervous or anxious or has really high expectations of what should happen versus what does happen, then that can wind the dog up, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. So a lot of times, especially if I'm shooting in the studio, the nice thing is we can take some pictures, stop, look at the photographs, let the dog relax, and we're not paying attention to the dog so much anymore, and they can kind of like, oh, okay, it's not all about me right now. And then come back to them, it's like, oh, okay, so this isn't such a terrible place. No one's giving me shots. No one's sticking any probes anywhere I don't want, right? So they think it's pretty good, and there's lots of treats involved.
Yeah, I was thinking that sometimes I bet a pet owner comes in and it's like, I want this kind of picture. I want him in that pose. I want, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That has happened?
Oh, sure.
Oh.
I've had some dog owners who have had many of the same dogs. Either like they have a show dog, or they like a particular breed of show dogs, and they do that. So there's a particular kind of look or stance to those kinds of photographs, or they have the photograph of their first dog, and they want to kind of emulate that same thing in their latest dog. Huh. So, I try to take a unique photo of that dog, but try to emulate the first photo that they want to kind of match it to.
So there's a lot more to this than my looking at Billy Bob and saying, click.
No, yeah.
Although he's very photogenic, I have
of
to
course.
say that. I think that sounds like fun, actually. I'm sure at times it could be difficult, but I think it sounds kind of like fun to do that. And so is there anything else that you think we should know about you or the business?
I think if someone is interested in doing photography for their pets, there are 3 great times to take pictures. When you first get the dog, whether it's like a puppy or something adopted that's maybe a couple of years old, when they're in their prime of their life, when they're sort of full grown, maybe a little bit more relaxed, 4, 5, 6 years old, somewhere around there, and then when they're seniors, not when they're like on their deathbed, because I've had a few calls like that, and it's a little heartbreaking because they're doing it because it's like, I should have done it earlier. And I never want people to think, oh, I should have done it. So, and then but if you do get that third shot of like when they are seniors, they're still able to get around, they got gray on the face, and maybe they're moving a little bit slow and they prefer to just kind of hang out on the couch more than go for a run in the woods. Those are the 3 times that people should think about getting photos for their pets. So they have a complete picture of them. I mean, people should be running around taking pictures with their phones and their own cameras and taking lots and lots of pictures. But if you want to have a professional where you can create something that would look beautiful hanging up in your home, then you call someone like me.
Well, that sounds good. I've owned about 4 or 5 dogs in our married life, and have their pictures. I still have one little picture of each one on a table because they were all of the same way. But Billy Bob's he's there now that we are alone because our children are married and have children. Mm-hmm. So he's become our last child, and that's why I think I take so many pictures of him. But
not spoiled
I can
at all.
understand people wanting, the professional picture of their dog or cat. So, have you ever refused anyone?
Ever refused anyone?
Or at least said, it's not happening, so I can't do it or something?
I really bend over backwards to try to make sure that I can work with whoever needs it. I've never had anybody demand certain things or sort of I want everything you have, but I don't want to pay anything for it. It's like, well, if you don't want to pay anything for it, then you don't get anything I have. So, but I've never had anyone show up for a session and they were bad to their dogs or something went wrong. No, yeah, nothing like that. I've been pretty fortunate. The nice thing about working with dog people or pet people in general, that if they know how to pick up their own dog's poop, they understand that the world is not so crazy and all about them. Like I find that pet people just have a little bit different perspective than non-pet people.
Ah, interesting.
Nothing against non-pet people, just saying. These are my people.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, well, so if we want a professional photograph of our pet, how do we get in touch with you?
Well, the best thing to do is probably go to my website. You can take a look at my work, and then there is a Let's Talk page, and you can fill out a form, and I can call you back at a time that works best for you. And then we can talk on the phone, talk about your dog, about what's important about your dog, what kind of photos that you're looking for, whether it's in studio or on location, and sort of what you would like to, what you want most out of the session. So,
Good,
yeah.
good. Well, take a look at his website, and if you have a pet you love, you might want to take a picture this way, very professionally. And so thank you, Fred. I enjoyed that, and I'll tell Billy Bob all about it too.
Excellent. Keep that treat bag handy. You want to look at the camera, you put the treat right in front of the camera.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess it's time to find all the paperwork we need to do our taxes, isn't it, Bob?
That's right, Barbara. As all of you know, it's tax time. Now, unfortunately, this year, the Littleton Elder and Human Services will not be able to offer their usual assistance. However, there are a couple of alternatives that you can turn to. One of them is Community Teamwork Incorporated, which is a VITA site for Littleton and neighboring communities. You can contact them at 978-459-0551. Another option for tax assistance is the South Middlesex Opportunity Council Incorporated, also a VITA site for Littleton and neighboring communities. It can be reached at 508-872-4853. Now, President's Day this year will be celebrated on Monday, February 15th. This holiday weekend was established in 1971 to bridge the birth dates of Abraham Lincoln's birth on the 12th and George Washington's birth date on the 22nd. But ultimately, it was established to honor all former U.S. presidents. The holiday weekend has also become a big-ticket shopping weekend, with sales on products ranging from furniture and mattresses to cars. Now, speaking of President's Day car sales, legend has it that this automobile sales promotion started right on Commonwealth Avenue in Boston. But let me back up for a moment. Beginning around 1910, a section of Com Ave introduced what was later to become known as Auto Row, which was a collection of very ornate motor car showrooms. Now, eventually, at least a dozen car dealerships located on Auto Row and extended on Commonwealth Avenue from the BU Bridge to the Packard Corner intersection, and then continued down Com Ave and Brighton Ave. All of the dealerships on Auto Row, out of all of them, the centerpiece was at 808 Commonwealth Avenue, the home of Alvin Fuller Cadillac Packard. In 1917, Fuller had an idea to dream up car sales. He began hosting an annual open house on Washington's birthday. He sent out invitations, and when he opened the doors for sales that day, Fuller treated his customers to a real carnival atmosphere, complete with bands, free cherry pie, coffee, and all sorts of other gimmicks. Other dealers followed his lead, and as you know, it's become a template for the country's dealerships. So here we are today, same coffee and gimmicks, but I think popcorn and hot dogs have replaced that cherry pie. The original Fuller dealership was renamed Peter Fuller Cadillac Olds as Alvin's son took over the ownership. And then in 1978, the Com Ave building was sold, and the car dealership moved to Watertown.
Well, I think maybe the Friends of the COA should offer cherry pie to the seniors, or at least a cherry pie recipe on President's Day. And by the way, the Friends of the COA have a new logo, so watch for this in the future.
Now, just a reminder, townhouse offices will be closed on President's Day, February 15th. EHS is closed, and no Meals on Wheels that day.
We hope you enjoyed our show today and you will join us again. But meantime, don't forget our seniors.